But I mean, the Iranian and Ukraine's NATO facility.
And we are live. Another week, alive, still for now. And once again with my good friend Larry Johnson from Sonar 21, former CIA analyst and true son of the new American Revolution. Larry, how are you doing, man?
I am well. Good
That's
evening,
great.
good day. Hello.
Good night for those who are far. Thank you very much, man, to come back once again. And damn it, Larry, every week I try to get slightly more positive. Last week I was saying, well, I don't hear that much talk about nuclear exchanges anymore. And then Brandon wakes up. I think he's watching the channel. He wakes up and say, oh, I'm not being belligerent enough, and gives ATACMS to Ukraine. What do you think about
Well, look,
that?
they've had ATACMS for a year. Okay, so getting ATACMS is not new. What is new is their promise to strike inside of Russia, as opposed to using ATACMS against targets inside Ukraine. That's the big difference. And they overnight, within 24 hours of Biden saying that they had the green light, which, this was all staged, because the fact that they had them in place ready to go immediately tells you that this was pre-planned with the military, because U.S. Military personnel basically have to program those missiles. Those are not fired by Ukrainians on their own. Then they fired into Bryansk, and the Russians shot 5 or 6 down. I think one got through and it didn't kill anybody. So, the United States is going to waste some scarce missiles on Ukraine. That's not, as they've conceded. The U.S. authorities have conceded. It's not going to change a damn thing with respect to the conflict, other than if it does hit targets inside Russia and kills Russian civilians and leaves them with what they consider a critical threat, then in that circumstance, Russia could use a nuke against them. Russia's not playing. And the West is convinced itself that Russia's a bunch of weaklings and just a bunch of tough talkers with no intention whatsoever of following through on threats. This is a ignorant teenager playing chicken.
Yeah, one thing that I thought was interesting, and you mentioned yesterday on the judge, I had posted a Sunday that on Twitter, is that, well, first of all, the range is in kilometers is 300 kilometers, so about 190 miles, right?
Yeah, so
which
that's halfway to Moscow.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you go from Kharkiv to Moscow, it's less than halfway.
Yeah, and the second thing that caught my attention was, and today, from what I read, that was on Putin new decree, that it includes Belarus on its umbrella of defense. So that kind of means, and I draw the map, it kind of means that now Russia needs about 300 kilometers at least of a buffer zone inside Ukraine, also from Belarus. And that goes almost all the way from Belarus to Odessa. That leaves Ukraine with like a couple of square meters of land.
Actually, the distance from Belarus to Odessa is, it's probably 3 times that. It's more like 900 kilometers.
Really?
Yeah, I think
Oh.
so. Because it's, Belarus sits on the very northern part of Ukraine, and Odessa is at the
Yeah.
very southern part.
Yeah.
But so let's go over Putin. They finally issued the new doctrine. There are 6 points to the doctrine. Number 1, the Russians stipulate that a critical threat to the sovereignty of the Russian Federation, even with non-nuclear weapons, will be the basis for a nuclear response. So that means what constitutes a critical threat? Something that is, say an attack on a Russian nuclear site, an attack that causes mass casualties, an attack that destroys a significant number of Russian aircraft. Something that constitutes a critical threat. And even if that's done with conventional ATACMS, with not nuclear warheads, Russia would be able to, says it would respond with nukes. And then the second point, Russia reserves the right to use nuclear weapons in the event of aggression against Belarus. Exactly what you said. So they're going to come to the defense of Belarus, not just with conventional force, but with nuclear force if necessary. The third point, the Russian Federation may consider the issue of using nuclear weapons after reliable data on a massive launch of missiles and or drones. In other words, if they see, say, 100 drones have been launched towards Russia, they can't tell whether they're carrying nukes or not. They're going to reserve the right at that point to launch a counterstrike with nukes. Fourth point, Russia has expanded the category of states and military alliances against which nuclear deterrence is carried out. So it's not just, in this case, it wouldn't be just limited to Ukraine. If Ukraine is being assisted in these actions by England, France, or the United States, then England, France, or the United States become a target. Fifth, in the updated version of the document, aggression against Russia by any non-nuclear state, but with the participation and support of a nuclear state, is proposed to be considered as a joint attack on the Russian Federation. Okay? So, in other words, Ukraine attacking with the United States, that's considered as a joint attack on Russia. And finally, Russia is obliged to take into account the emergence of new sources of military threats and risk for itself and its allies. So this is now Russian doctrine. And the West better pay damn close attention. The Russians, they're not screwing around. They're not playing a game. They're not bluffing. They've laid it out. They will follow this doctrine. They are very, if in this way, quite legalistic. And so there will be a response to this ATACMS attack overnight in Bryansk, but it's not going to go into, it doesn't meet any of these criteria yet because it wasn't a massive drone or missile strike. It didn't hit a critical target. It was largely defeated, but I wouldn't be surprised to see Russia go back after a command headquarters, perhaps even trying to take out the Ministry of Defense in Kiev. Up to this point, they've left it intact. Now may be the time to destroy it, take it apart.
Yeah, it's been a while since everybody's asking themselves, and I see people asking a lot about this, why isn't the Russians going after leadership? Decapitation attacks and all that. I myself, I think that so far it was those people were being useful by their stupid decisions. Hasn't it gone too far?
No. I mean, look, Russia recognizes, unlike the Israelis, that decapitation strategies don't work. They took out Hassan Nasrallah. Did that stop Hezbollah? No. So it also sets a bad precedent that it's okay to start assassinating leaders. You destroy the military. You destroy you basically disarm them so that they cannot continue to fight. That would be an ultimate last step for Russia, the very last thing they'd want to do. Because the plan is working. The notion that Russia's struggling is false. They are advancing at an increasingly rapid pace every single day, and the Ukrainians are on their heels. They're moving backwards. In many cases, they're surrounded, and they're being killed and decimated in massive numbers. I'll post a video later today at sonar21.com of this time-lapse photography of the cemeteries in Ukraine. They're exploding in the size over time. Sometimes they've increased 10 to 15 fold. Okay, 10 to 15 times their original size. That's how many Ukrainians have been dying.
Yeah, I've seen a hell lot of videos about, people just filming, passing by, and all the flags waving around, all the Ukrainian flags, and the pictures of people. It's been like there for almost 2 years already, and I don't know what people think. Just today, a friend of mine, during a conversation, said, "Well, yeah, Russia is getting bombed." And I said, "Dude, look who's getting really bombed. Yeah, they got a missile here. It's a war, But I just don't see how this can be." And that's what concerns me, Larry, because average people. I'm not saying stupid people. I'm saying average people that are not paying attention to things that we are paying attention. They just don't have this perception of what's going on.
Right. Yeah. They choose to listen to the Western propaganda. That's all it is. So the only thing to correct that is to try to steer them to alternative media, like my blog, Sonar 21, like your podcast here, to try to get educated, to be informed, to be presented with some actual information as opposed to a bunch of spin.
Yeah. And so just moving slightly away, but still around the Ukraine, what's the deal with North Korea, Larry? I've been watching this when they started to say these things about North Korea, say, "Oh, shit, here we go. Another war. They are trying to get the Kim dude, the Rocket Man. What is the deal?" And you and you wrote an article just yesterday or the day before yesterday about the willing to go after North Korea. What do you think about all this? Oh, they have 3,000 North Korean troops there now, 5,000 now, 12,000. Alex Christoforou said he was kidding like a week ago. Say, "Oh, in no time there will be 100,000." It looks like Reuters or some Wall Street Journal came out with his 100,000 North Korean troops in Russia. What do you think from that, Larry?
It's a fabrication. It was a fabrication for one reason. They're going to use they used the false claim that North Korean troops are fighting inside Russia against Ukrainians in Kursk as the reason to justify giving the green light to use ATACMS missiles. That's it. There's a complete fabrication. There's not a shred of evidence that there's a single North Korean in Kursk. Are there North Koreans in Russia? Yes. Have been for the last 75 years, for God's sake. I mean, Jesus Christ. This is ridiculous. They've been this former Soviet Union, prior to Russia, the former Soviet Union actively supported the North Koreans in their war against the United States and the United Nations in Korea back in 1950, 51, 52, 53. So, North Korea has always been hanging around Russia, and Russia's always been having some degree of military cooperation with them. But that's different than saying, "Oh, the North Korean troops, the entire premise of the claim that North Korean troops are in Kursk is because the Russian army is so weak and so battered that it needs reinforcements.
It's in tatters.
Sorry, yeah, it's no, that's just horse excrement. It is, it's a lie.
It's not the judge. You can say the words.
Yeah, no, well, it was, I'll clean it up in case somebody's children are watching.
I hope not.
Well, your daughter, maybe your daughter's earshot. You're not going to, hit her with an expletive. Yeah, so it's ridiculous, and it is so illustrative of how easily manipulated and controlled people are these days in this so-called information age, where you tell them anything, they'll believe it. Well, I saw it on CNN. It must be true. Of course, if they claim that they saw it on CNN, they're admitting that they're a minority, because hardly anybody watches CNN. They're claiming they've got more people working at CNN than watch it.
Well, about that, I have something to say. In Brazil, we had this, extraterritorial outlet called Globo. Is G1.
Yeah.
It's internationally known. They during the times of Dilma and then Temer and all that mess in Brazil, they completely lost the how's it called, the people's trust. Okay, so Brazilian people just, left, right, whoever, were just like, we don't care about that anymore. Mm-hmm. That opened the path to CNN Brazil, BBC Brazil, Deutsche Welle Brazil, all the outlets, all the mainstream outlets inside Brazil. And this was very weird times. And Brazilian people, they have something that they really do trust Europeans and Americans. What comes from USA, what comes from Europe is, stamped. It's a quality seal. And that opened the information war in Brazil vastly widely. Because before it was basically controlled by G1, and now we have all these outlets and people trust them. So that's when I mentioned that average people have no idea what's going on. It's because average people do believe in CNN. And perhaps in Brazil, people will say that's a trust source of place. I have a super chat from Chili Peppers. Thank you very much. How do you have 16 likes and 6 views? I don't know. 1 like was mine. So hopefully there's still people watching here. People will watch probably later when I subtitle the video as well, since this channel, the Brazilian, it's for Brazilian people, and many prefer to watch it with subtitles. Yeah. So yeah, that was just an open up about the reality of mainstream media in Brazil for people outside. Larry, all right. We talk about ATACMS in Ukraine. We talk about North Korea. Now Iran. What is this deal that they are trying to push on Iran, trying to assassinate everybody? Trump, some Canadian dude, probably.
There's another fabrication. So the story came out 2 weeks ago, just before the election, 3 weeks ago, claiming that the FBI had disrupted a plot to kill President Trump. But then when they released the press release about when they had a press guidance announcement about the case, as well as the indictment. But what they revealed was, let's see, the guy's name was Farhad Sakari. And Sakari was born in Afghanistan in 1973. Immigrated, came to the United States when he was 6 or 7 years old, 79, 1980. Grew up in the United States, but apparently never became a U.S. citizen. And in 1994, got arrested for armed robbery and was sentenced to prison. Was in prison for 14 years. So do the math. That takes you to 2008. 2008, he gets out of prison and is deported immediately. Well, since he's Afghani, he gets deported to Afghanistan. Nothing else is heard of him, according to this indictment, until 2019, when he's in Sri Lanka with another individual with whom he had been in prison. And in the indictment, they list this person as co-conspirator CC-1. And in fact, in the indictment, they have CC-1, CC-2, CC-3. So 3 other alleged co-conspirators, plus 2 other guys, one named Rivera, and the other, I think, was named Lodeholt. Now, supposedly, Lodeholt met both Lodeholt and Rivera were also in prison with Farhad Sakari. So this is like the old prison gang getting back together, supposedly. In 2019, Farhad and CC1 get busted in Sri Lanka with 100 kilos of heroin. It's actually 92, but let's go with 100. Easier to remember. Do they go to prison? They stay in prison for a long time?
In Sri Lanka.
In Sri Lanka, right. Well, when I saw that told me 2 things immediately, and I double checked with both an FBI buddy of mine and a DEA buddy of mine and a CIA buddy. This hit on these drugs is probably arranged by DEA through DEA intelligence, tipping off the Sri Lankan drug police. And once they pick up these 2 guys, they're made an offer they can't refuse. They're given a choice. Hey, become a cooperator. Give us information. Become a confidential informant. And you're not going to see the inside of a jail and have a boyfriend named Bubba. Okay? Well, they all said, I'm sure they said, oh, sure, we'll do that. So here's Farhad Sakari now in Sri Lanka, and he's ratting out the people up his supply line. Well, at some point in there, I don't know when the CIA approached him, but with CIA working with DEA, approached Sakari or his partner and convinced Sakari to go back to Iran, to get to Iran. Now, the guy had no ties to Iran, never lived in Iran. But he figures he goes to Iran, gets a job in the oil and gas industry. And then at some point, the IRGC comes up to him and goes, hey, Farhad, we need you to do us a favor. That's like the Godfather. Hey, I come to you with a favor. So what's the favor? Oh, the IRGC wants Farhad to get together a group to go kill an Iranian American journalist who reportedly had ripped the Iranians off to the tune of $250,000. So Farhad says, well, sure. And gets on the phone. Now, understand he left the United States in 2008. But man, he has no trouble getting in touch with his buddy Rivera and Lodefault or Lodeholt or whatever the guy's name is. Hey, I need you guys to do me a favor. I need you to go out and whack this guy, and I'll pay you $10,000. So all of this communication back and forth is collected by the FBI. That's evidence. This is evidence. What they're ignoring is the fact that Farhad claims that he was approached by the IRGC, and we're told that he is actually in Iran. I don't know Iran real well, But this much I do know, as an Islamic republic, they're not real keen on Afghan drug dealers coming into their country. And on top of it, that this guy is going to worm his way up in the oil and gas industry and all of a sudden become an asset of the IRGC to carry out operations in the United States. Now, it never comes to fruition. Just like this is a form of, let's call it entrapment, where the CIA sets it up, presents the story, provides the cover, and you go through, oh, okay, you want me to do this, and they do that, and that way they collect the evidence. This proves it. And then the topper is part of the FBI evidence in this indictment. They call Farhad in Tehran. Hello, Farhad. Yeah, this is Agent Johnson. I'm with the FBI. We'd like to talk to you about your assassination plot. Would you be willing to talk to us? Farhad. Sure, dude. Yeah, man. Can't wait to tell you everything I know.
And he picks up the phone.
Yeah. And so he does a full interview. The guys in Tehran, the IRGC, the real world IRGC, monitors and collects on those kinds of phone calls. Do you think they're going to let some guy who's going, yeah, I was an IRGC agent and yeah, they sent me out to do assassinations. They're bad people. That they're going to let him live and walk around Tehran? They're going to hang him by his heels from the top of a building if this was true.
Of course.
So what I'm telling you is this is all bullshit. Pure, unadulterated bullshit. And it was done, I think, primarily to create a storyline that accomplished two things. One, it provided a story that the American people would believe that, oh, Iran's trying to kill Donald Trump. We need to go to war with Iran. And number two, so that the FBI saying, see, President Trump, we're not such bad guys. Don't beat us. Please be nice to us. So it's just ridiculous. A complete fabrication.
And a bad one.
Yeah. I mean, it's just the holes in the story. You know, look, you think back, who were you in touch with in 2008? Can you remember? And say, okay, yeah, I'm going to get in touch with, call you up. You know, you call it, hey, Marcelo, it's been a while. Yeah, what's up? Oh, I want you to kill somebody.
Not I want to kill somebody. I wanted to kill the president of the United States.
Yeah.
Everyday stuff.
It's just ridiculous.
It's amazing. And that's, again, we come again to the cognitive war. How the hell people believe that? Because it sounds stupid. It sounds fabricated by a mile away. It stinks fabrication. Yet people believe it. You have OSI int something on Twitter. Just today I saw it reposted it. Yeah, you're right. It's right. Of course, that one is also another operation profile. But there are people that believe that. There are people that believe all this BS that we talk about, every day. We have geopolitical analysts in Brazil with, tens of thousands of followers that repeat the BS, and people come to my blog and say, yeah, that's not what's happening, that's not what's going on. Russia is dying, and Iran is on tatters, or one or another. That pisses me off. And I come back to the question that, thank you very much, Chili Pepper, for that $10. How do you have 16 likes and 6 views? Yeah, I should have 2,000 likes and 100,000 views just by having Larry Johnson here with me tonight. Once again, Larry, to finalize, that's a quick one. Trump's nominations. How do you see those things coming to reality?
With the passage of time, I think most of them will get through, if not all of them.
So just a second, just for me to understand, these nominations are not final. They need to go through some other process.
Yeah, they have to be approved. They have to go through. The Senate has to give its approval for some of them.
Okay.
The selection of Michael Waltz as National Security Advisor, that doesn't have to go for Senate approval. But Marco Rubio for Secretary of State, Gates for Attorney General, Tulsi Gabbard for Directorate of National Intelligence. Was it Pete Hegseth for Secretary of Defense? All of those have to go and receive Senate confirmation. They have to be confirmed by the Senate. There was a lot of concern early on because while these are not traditional neocons, at least with respect to Israel, they're all Zionists, Christian Zionists, basically. Because none of them are Jewish. That's the other funny thing. They're sort of there by secondary Zionists. There's a lot of misinformation out there about that somehow Trump is beholden to and been bought by Miriam Adelson, the widow of Sheldon Adelson. People forget that in 2015-16, Trump was making fun of Marco Rubio for being a recipient of so much money from the Adelsons. Basically referred to him like an organ grinder monkey of the Adelsons. Well, now they're saying, oh, Trump got this $100,000. Apparently, she promised $100,000. She only gave $100 million, but she only gave $30 million. It's not an inconsequential amount, but it's, 30 million is 30 million. Let me offer one interpretation of what Trump's doing with his cabinet selection. He is putting in these people who will be acceptable to this ardent Zionist crowd like Adelson. I mean, Marco Rubio's her boy. So that way they can't accuse Trump of not trying to do what they wanted him to do. That's on the one hand. On the other hand, none of those people are going to be driving the car. All right. This is let's think of this like a family of six that, and you got even 2 or 3 teenagers and you're going out and you're going to drive from Rio to Brasilia or from Washington, D.C. down to Miami. Dad gets in the car. Dad's driving. That's Donald Trump. Remember back when Mike Pompeo was was CIA director, and John Bolton was National Security Advisor? Pompeo was more, in my judgment, is more dangerous and more disloyal on every regard than Marco Rubio could ever be. And similarly, Mike Waltz is nowhere near the kind of threat that John Bolton was. And yet, though Bolton and Pompeo were in those controlling positions and told Trump, don't do anything with North Korea, don't reconcile with North Korea, what did Trump do? He went to North Korea. He basically told them, screw off, I'm doing what I'm in charge, you're not. So Trump has made it very clear that he is a president that is not interested in going to war and starting a war, including with Iran. Even though you can make the case that Marco Rubio wants to go to war with Iran and Michael Waltz wants to go to war with Iran and Marco Rubio wants to go to war with Iran, and Pete Hegseth. They all want to go to war with Iran, but Donald Trump doesn't. When push comes to shove, Donald Trump's going to make the decision, not them. And he has demonstrated that in his first term as president against far greater odds. I mean, good Lord, the deep state had infiltrated. He foolishly chose people that were not loyal to him, were not provenly loyal to him. This time, he's choosing people who have some proven loyalty, especially with Gates. Gates and Gates hasn't been afraid to speak his mind against Trump on occasion, but it stood by Trump in critical times. Same with Waltz and Tulsi Gabbard's come around to it. So I'm not, I think a lot of this alarm and hand wringing right now over the appointments is because there's nothing else going on, at least inside the United States, until January 20th. So they got to have something to talk about. So let's create.
They need to entertain.
Yeah. Let's just create some drama.
Yeah, exactly. There was one analysis that I watched from Alexander Mercury's that I found very interesting about Marco Rubio. That was that by getting Rubio, he releases a seat on the House, which will be filled with someone
in the Senate.
In the Senate, yes, sorry.
Yeah.
That will be filled by someone that he can appoint. Well, someone that is connected to him can appoint. And at the same time,
Governor DeSantis can appoint Laura Trump, his daughter-in-law, who's currently the co-chair of the Republican National Committee. So that very well could happen.
Yeah. So there is some 4D chess going on there.
Oh, yes. Look, I find I don't want people to come away and think that I'm, the new chair of the Donald Trump fan club. But regardless of what you think about Trump, whether you think he's the devil incarnate, a fascist, Adolf Hitler reincarnated, Joseph Stalin, whatever, step back and admit the facts. Donald Trump was, while his father was well off and would be considered rich, it was not wealthy. It wasn't billionaire money. And Donald Trump somehow, and with his Wharton Business School education, was able to make decisions and do things with respect to real estate and marketing that other people didn't. And in the course of that, became a billionaire. Then, as a billionaire who at the time, oh man, all the celebrities loved him, especially the politicians, Republicans, Democrats, they couldn't wait to offer him fellatio, okay? Because he would write a check. Bill and Hillary Clinton, oh, gimme. Mitt Romney, gimme. We'll take your money, Don. Yeah. And Trump worked the system. And then when he decided to run for president, and Barack Obama, he'll never be president. How'd that work out? Tough guy.
How'd that work out for Clinton?
So here's Trump, who surmounts all of these obstacles and becomes president, and then faces an unprecedented lawfare attack. And both internally within his own people in his government who were undermining him and betraying him, and the entire Democratic establishment and the media establishment all coming after him and spreading a lot of lies. I know if that had happened to me, I would be so pissed off. I'd be seeking to kill people. I mean, I would be ready to kill people. Yet throughout all of this, Trump somehow kept his sense of humor and kept his fortune intact and beat back the entire deep state with efforts to destroy him. Now, say what you will, but that's not something that a stupid person, a person who's ignorant, a person who's weak, does. That it reflects, maybe there's a bit of luck in there, but it reflects a level of toughness and intelligence. So with respect to his selections for who he wants in his cabinet, the only conclusion I can draw is he knows what he's doing, and I don't think he has a death wish to fail because he's gone through too much to do that. And he's acknowledged, at least I found it interesting with Joe Rogan interview, he admitted, hey, I made mistakes. There you go. That's a sign of somebody who's got some sanity. Like Kamala Harris or the Clintons or Obama, they never make mistakes because they're blessed. They're blessed of God. They're the chosen people.
Are chosen by the chosen.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. Yeah, Larry, this was a short yet extremely dense show tonight. The amount of information that we got here today was amazing. I have a quick yes or no question related to this last.
I refuse to answer those. I refuse to answer those. I get to get full. No. Okay, go ahead.
Do you think Trump is going to go after those guys? Or he's just going to leave it behind?
No.
All
you said do it yes or no. Okay. Can I explain?
Please.
Oh, okay. Dude, I'm just trying to follow directions, be cooperative here. I don't want to be that arrogant American asshole that tells you what to do. I will follow your orders. Look, I think, number one, I think Trump cut a deal, or Biden cut a deal with Trump, that Hunter Biden will be pardoned, and that Donald Trump is not going to go after to prosecute, direct the Department of Justice to prosecute the Biden family. Although I think there's ample evidence to support an indictment of that family. That's number one. Number two, though, I expect the Department of Justice under Trump to go after people who have committed wrongdoing. Go after Anthony Fauci. Fauci lied. Fauci was involved with gain-of-function research. Fauci became fabulously wealthy. To go out to Court-Martial Mark Milley, the former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, who was insubordinate by his own admission, refused to follow lawful orders. Those are offenses that should be court-martialed for. There's some others. So I don't think Trump's going to get caught up with revenge. I think he's going to focus. They got too much to do to go forward to cut the government and to get the government on track. What's funny is, judging if all these threats on Twitter and TikTok are true, you got people, Department of Justice, if Trump does, if Matt Gaetz becomes Attorney General, we're resigning. And the same at the Department of Energy, and the same at the Department of Education, and the same at CIA. And across the board, all these people are going to resign. Trump will go, cool. I don't have to worry about firing anybody. Yeah, no more rehires. Okay, they've all left. Bye. Have a nice day. Yeah.
And I don't have to pay compensations for firing people. That's even better.
Yeah, then I can't come back and sue you, man. They did it. They jumped off the bridge.
That is a perfect answer, Larry.
So Larry, I tried to give you yes or I tried to give you a yes or no, but no. You've insisted on a full explanation. It's all your fault.
All my fault. I take that one. Larry, it's always a pleasure, and I always have an excellent fun time having a conversation with you here. And it's amazing how much information we can grab in a little bit of time. This is I'm going to share this on my WhatsApp groups to my friends that were talking smack yesterday. And well, just like to remember everybody that all the links are on the description. Follow Larry Johnson, Sonar 21. You can help his work with PayPal. The QR code are on the screen. If you have, you can help my work with. This is Brazilian Pix, and thank you very much for the people that send super chats. And Larry, hope to see you next week. Well, at least the Russians publish a video with countries that they will nuclear hit if something goes wrong. Italy is not among them. Yeah. So that's the good news for me. You're good. Bad news is that I know people everywhere in those other countries. So, yeah. All right. See you next time, my friend. Bye-bye.
Tchau. Muito obrigado.
Obrigado.